Welcome to part 2 of my July mood reading vlog. My glasses are off because I wanted to apologize just from the beginning about this. I can't help it, and it's dark and I waited too long. The natural light is gone and I need the ring light, and this happens. So I don't have contacts and I like to see things. So this is happening. Anyway, this is part 2, dose. And I just wanted to check in real quick. I am still reading one thing from the holdover from the first part of the video, and that's Wildfire by Alana Andrews. I'm on chapter 4, page 64 of this book out of like 389. It's like fourth priority for me right now, so I'm reading it, you know, when the mood strikes me. It's probably gonna take me honestly like another week or two to read this the way I'm going. Maybe once I finish up my current reads and when Summerween's over, maybe I'll just like buckle down and get to this, but I've still got that going. And then I started, actually I started this yesterday, so I should have put it in yesterday's vlog, but I didn't want anything else besides Wildfire to carry over, and that is The Alewives by Elizabeth R. Anderson. So this is a book that I happened to see. I was trying to figure out how I found it, and I remembered like an hour ago how I found it, and that is book of the month for the last year and a half, 2 years maybe, has been doing clues in their little illustration doodly-doos in their app, and right now they're trying to switch things up to be, I think, in competition with Aardvark, and Aardvark's really creative clues every month. I think 6 months ago, almost a year ago maybe, there was a clue and I couldn't figure out what cover the clue was from. So I was literally searching just every book that was going to be released in a certain month. Actually, we can look, because this was released in, oh, it just says 2023. Okay, well, whatever month this was released, maybe I'll put it here. I want to say like February or March. I was like searching frantically for something, and I just Googled every book released in March 2023 or whatever month it was. I was like helplessly scrolling through looking for something. Maybe it was like a certain flower, or it was a vase or something. And I just happened to scroll past this. My friend Heather was once on a podcast and told the story of alewives, which I will link the story of the alewives below, but I have been absolutely fascinated by the concept of alewives ever since she told that story. And so it just immediately caught my eye, and I was like, oh, what's this? And so I went over to Goodreads and I found that it was a recently released cozy mystery, but I don't really think that's what it is. I mean, it is kind of cozy and it is a mystery, but I don't think it's a cozy mystery. So this is actually historical fiction set in, let's see, I think it's 1383. It's in a town called Colmar in Alsace. I don't know where that is. I don't know if that's even still a country. Whatever I give. Oh, 1353 CE. It's right there on the top. Pippin? No, I know. It's like a little toy. So this is about 3 women, 2 of whom are widows, and 1 who isn't, but she has 12 children. And she feels very ambivalent about all 12 of them. Doesn't even know a lot of their names without having to stop and think about it. And this is just after, like very soon after, a recurrence of the Black Death, which they call the Great Pestilence. And it's written by a historian. She's a historian, and she writes historical fiction. It is indie, and it has only 33 ratings on Goodreads right now, which I think is a crime because it's very well written, and I'm enjoying myself thoroughly so far. They decide to make money that they want to become alewives. And then a murder happens, and then the alewives are going to solve the murders, because there's multiple murders. Everything about this is so calling to me, but I'm not super far into it because I'm doing some Summerween stuff right now. I'm on page 33. But as soon as Summerween is over, this and then Wildfire are probably going to be my, ow, get away. Ugh. He's going to get sprayed if he comes back raring to go. I will check in more later with like actual stuff, but I mean, the writing is really fun so far. It's got this like dark humor towards it, and something I love about like hearing stories about the Middle Ages is because death was so close, like around the corner for everybody, and it was pretty rare that people lived very long. People just have these like this weird like gallows sense of humor and that is in full evidence here. So I'm very much enjoying myself so far. Okay, so now for Summerween. So I'm actually reading 2 Summerween books right now. The first one I'm barely into because I just started it at lunch today, and then stuff happened at lunch and I got distracted. And that is episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. So I'm reading this for the prompt, something with orange on the cover. It's orange. I thought it might fulfill another prompt, but it doesn't, and the next book will. Actually, the next book's going to be for 2 prompts, so whatever. But I'm going to read more than that book, so it's fine. If, like, the other books don't fit the prompts, and this one fits 2 prompts. I don't even care. This is episode 13. This was just released in January. Never heard of this author before. I love this cover, but it's sort of like his most popular book by a long shot. He's been publishing for a while. It's sort of in the tradition of found footage movies, except it's a mixed media book. And it's the haunting of this place called Foundation House is told in journal entries, blog entries, transcripts of interviews, historical documents, newspapers, videos, footage, transcripts. Premises that there's a show, which I can't remember the name of the show right now. Oh, Fade to Black, which is produced by a married couple. One of them, it's like a Mulder-Scully dynamic. He's the believer and she's the skeptic. And they actually, sounds like something I would want to watch if it was real. Their episode 13, they've decided to go research Foundation House, which is a long abandoned, said to be really haunted building that was occupied by the Paranormal Research Foundation in the 1970s. And apparently something weird happened. And I don't know what yet because I'm not super far, but I'm enjoying it so far. This is what I'm reading for the orange prompt. I will probably finish it tomorrow because some of the, well, maybe not, depending on how distracted I get. But like a lot of the pages do stuff like this, which I can get through that so much faster. And then the other Summerween read I'm reading right now, which is going very well because I'm already 40% in, is Good House by Tananarive Due. I've been hearing about Tananarive Due ever since I started watching BookTube. I'd never heard of this author before. Maybe a large part because I didn't think that I liked horror until 2 years ago. But also just because it doesn't seem to be something that a lot of people read. Like, there's only 7,000 ratings on Goodreads, which seems like a crime because she's a very good writer. She's a Black woman and she's been writing since the 90s. And this book was published in 2003 and it's her most popular book. And the reason I wanted to get to it right now is because I wanted to try out her writing in advance of her next book being published I think it's on Halloween. And she's actually releasing her first book in 10 years. And apparently it's got some personal history for her. Like, she's writing about somebody that was real, maybe a relative. I'm not sure yet. I'll look into it more. But this one, The Good House, is sort of in the style of Stephen King. It's long and you get lots of lead up and character moments, and it switches perspectives a lot. And the horror right now is there, but it's also sort of just creeping in a little more slowly. And it's about this woman named Angelica whose grandmother Marie was the owner of this house that everyone in her very small town calls the Good House. And originally it was called that because somebody named Elijah Good owned it. Then it took over and they dropped the E because Marie was said to have really intense healing abilities, like she was a healer, and the implication being that she practiced voodoo, but that she was in touch with spiritual powerful abilities. But regardless, everyone agreed that she had a talent to actually heal people. So they started calling it the Good House for that. But then the main character, years and years later, I think 2001 is when the book opens. She and her family are there for the summer and her son is killed. He dies. And 2 years later, she's finally ready to put things to rest in the house, but it becomes evident that something is going on because other people around the house and in relation to her family are either acting very strangely or dying. It's very good so far. I'm listening to the audiobook, which is by Robin Miles, who's a pretty prolific audiobook narrator, and she's doing a good job, and it's a pretty good recording, even though it was recorded in 2003. And this book is filling 2 prompts. So the first prompt is it takes place in the fall, and it's right now we're in late September, I think, in the timeline where I'm at. So I'm counting that. And then the second thing is that you're supposed to read a book in the dark. These are the prompts. read a book in the dark. Now, I don't really want to do that. I don't really super want to do that, but I'm only gonna do it for 10 minutes. 10 minutes of reading a book in the dark, and I'm just gonna listen to 10 minutes of this book. I don't think we're even in a particularly scary spot right now in the book, so I'm just gonna do that for 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna turn my lights back on and get back to reading this. I know you don't have to fulfill all the prompts for Summerween, but I mean, like, in the spirit of the thing, I do want to try and at least nod to this one. I mean, I would actually just read my book in the dark with a flashlight, but I don't own a flashlight. I mean, I have my phone, but then I couldn't film it because I film on my phone. I don't know, whatever. Reading in the dark is not good for your eyes. I wish you guys could see Pippin right now. He's like upside down in my lap. His butt and his legs are above his head, and he's chewing on his own feet, and his head is like in my legs. I don't know what to do with this cat. Want to say hi? Want to say hi to everyone? Say bye. Oh, okay. I'm gonna go make dinner, and then I'm going to get in bed and read a book in the dark for 10 minutes, and then I'm just gonna go to bed. So I will see you guys sometime tomorrow.
Perspective adds to the story, but if it doesn't perk up through at this point, then I feel like it might be a DNF. I'm gonna see DNF this because I knew that it wasn't going to be groundbreaking like because I did enjoy it, especially when we got in. I guess the twist would be revealed, but predictable, but I enjoyed the revelation, because with a thriller, like, it being predictable isn't always bad. I am it's not necessarily a bad thing that was predictable, but it was better one, and I would have known that we should have thought through it, so we have so I feel like it's very much like in the atmosphere, which is a shame, because like researching my thrillers, like this went to some dark places, and you know what, actually I feel like
So I'm quick check-in because I'm very tired. I was going to do a real check-in, but I just want to do a quick check-in to talk about how I'm going to check in tomorrow. But basically, I finished episode 13, and I'm going to give this 3 stars. I will talk about why tomorrow. And then earlier today, I also finished the audiobook of The Good House by Tanana Reeve-Dew, and I'm giving it 5 stars. It was excellent. I will also talk about why. tomorrow. And then I have, I think, one more Summerween read. And then I'm just going to go back to mood reading. But anyway, I'm going to bed now. Hello. It is a Saturday. So before we get to anything, I have a fun unboxing. So about 2 weeks ago, some author put out the call or amplified the call from a queer-owned bookstore in Texas. I can't remember the city, but they're called the Book Borough. Oh, Pflugerville, Texas. And they needed something like $2,900 in order to stay open, to pay their rent. Now, I don't live in Texas, so I can't just go there and just buy books. But they do have a small little website, and they don't have like their entire stock online, but they have select stock, and they have these cute little blind date with a book packages that you can buy for like $10 to $15 depending on what book they end up selecting for you. So I picked a horror book, figuring that that had the most chance of me not having read it or owned it. So now we're still taking some chances here. My reluctance to do blind dates with a book are nearly always because I've either heard of it and didn't want to read it. Would you guys effing stop? They've been quiet for hours and now they're yowling. Stop. You stay here. I'm always reluctant to do these. No, Pippin, like I said, I'm scared that I will have either decided I didn't want to read it and that's like a hard and fast decision and I'm not going to change my mind, or it's going to be a book that I've said I don't want to read and then I'm going to be annoyed because I have to read it. Or more likely, I will have already read it or I already own it. Ideal situations would be I want to read it and do not own it, or I have already read it and just don't own it because I did the audio or I did the library or script or something like that. We're gonna see what the case is here. I think they asked me if I liked, what kind of tea I liked in the little questionnaire. So I'm hoping maybe that means there's tea in here. So we'll see. They put it in this really fancy package. Oh, look at their cute little logo. Blind date for Ashley. That's cute. What else have we got in here? We've got, oh yeah, Libro FM. Oh, so if you want to support them and you have a Libro FM, which I do, so maybe I'll switch my Libro for a little bit to them instead of Mostly Books, which is here in Tucson, because they're not in trouble and this place is. I got a little note and it says, "Hey y'all, thank you so very much for supporting our humble little indie bookstore. We have had orders pouring in from all over the country and we are blown away with how many people are supporting us. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for your purchase. We couldn't have done this without you. Be sure to follow us on social media to see our progress. It means the world to us to see that strangers are reaching out asking how they can help. We are a small but mighty team and we would not be able to keep going without your support. Thank you for helping us continue to offer a safe space for all." And then they signed it, "You are awesome, embrace your weird," and it was the team. So that's really cute. I'm glad that it helped. I need you guys to shut the fuck up. What is this? Oh, it's just green tea. I said that I liked pomegranate black, but maybe they just didn't have any left. Oh, it's a little sticker. It's a cute little sticker. Main event. Let's hope I haven't read it. And I want to read it. Okay, they've really done a thorough job here. How do you open it? Okay. Already I'm looking and I do not know what this is. Okay, so this is an older book. Berkeley Sensation doesn't exist anymore, I don't think. Sarah McCarty. Reaper's Justice. The Shadow Reapers. I think this is book 1. Paranormal Historical Romance. Okay, well, I said I wanted a horror, but okay. I've never heard of this book. A breed of werewolf soldiers engineered to kill on command, the Shadow Reapers went rogue at the end of the Civil War. Now exacting justice by their own code, they long to feel human as they contain the beast within. When the war between the states came to its end, the battle inside Isaiah Jones raged on. Neither fully human nor fully wolf, he found his peace in Adelaide Cameron, the human acceptance he needed, and the passion his inner wolf craved. Though their union was forbidden by Reaper law, Isaiah satisfied his urges by guarding her from afar. But now Adelaide has been abducted, and when Isaiah comes to her rescue, their need for each other becomes more than any living creature can bear. As he allows himself to get dangerously close, the threats to Adelaide continue. To save her, he must not only expose his dark nature, but invite her into the shadows with him. Okay, well, that sounds like something I might enjoy. I don't tend to like Civil War era fiction very much, so we'll see. I'm just mostly disappointed this isn't horror. I feel like maybe they ran out of horror books. I don't know. I'm kind of sad. So they're lucky I like romance. This isn't horror at all, so I'm glad I could support them, but come on guys, why isn't this a horror book? I would have even waited longer for a horror instead of that. Well, maybe I'll like it, who knows? I'll give it a shot, and I'm glad I could support them, but I do want a horror book. So let's move on. I turned the camera on also. I just got that in the mail, but I was intending to come here no matter what and finish up my last several books. I've finished 4 books in the time since I've last updated. I needed a little break, took a little nap today. By little, I mean a really long, like 3-hour nap that I slept real hard, and then it destroyed me for an hour. So it was really like a 4-hour nap because I had to recover from my nap for an hour. And then I had to go take care of a Frida doggy. See her one more time tonight because Jessie went to the Taylor Swift concert in Denver and needed somebody to watch her today, I guess. I'm watching the doggy. I want to talk real quick about my 3 remaining Summerween reads that I finished up real quick. I want to talk about one of them last because I loved it the most. So I want to talk about If Found Return to Hell by MX Liu. So I read this real quick, like last night and this morning. And first of all, this isn't horror. I said it was a horror fantasy horror. I know like all those like this looks like it might be horror. It's not horror. If anything, it's a fantasy comedy-ish thing, but it's very funny, and it sort of actually takes the tropes of a horror book, like possession and that kind of stuff, and then like flips them around so they're not serious. Spoilers, the demon prince from hell that possesses this poor college kid's body isn't a bad guy. And he's like, he and the kids strike up a deal where he's gonna stay in the kid's body and share, because the kid's like, well, he can't go back. It's terrible there. So anyway, I highly recommend this if you like humorous fantasy fiction, and it is pretty queer. So very good time, but not a Summerween read in retrospect, unless, well, I mean, it had a demon in it, but still. And then I finished episode 13 by Craig DeLuey. This is I don't remember if I talked about it very much. If I did, I'll cut the rest of this out, but this is a epistolary novel about, actually, did I even talk about this at all? I think I did, but I was very tired when I made that clip. This is an epistolary novel where it's mimicking the found footage horror film thing. I've never actually seen a found footage horror film. The closest I've ever gotten is that episode of Supernatural where they mimic the found footage horror film with the werewolves. That episode was fine, but I've heard about them a lot. Screen Drafts, the podcast, talks about them a lot, so I like know what they're about. I get the gist. I've never seen Blair Witch Project, but if you like that kind of stuff, I highly suggest that you check this out because it does a very good job of mimicking the tropes and the feelings and stuff in book form. It just wasn't super interesting to me because it was like leaning into the aspects of the story that I liked the least. And the stuff that was the most interesting to me was sort of on the back burner, which is actually mainly just these creepy weirdos in the 1970s who bought this house and started doing human experiments, trying to like maximize human potential. Like I wanted just to read about those guys and their weird experiments, and instead I got this. The end of the book was very creepy though. It gets real weird. It gets real weird and kind of cosmic horror-y at the end. So if you're into that, you know, I didn't get scared by this. And I give it 3 stars, 3.5 stars. but I'm going to be selling it on Pango because it's not my fave. Before I talk about my last Summerween read, I did want to tell you that I also finished up the Alewives. So this is a cozy historical mystery subtitled A Plague-Era Tale of Friendship, Mystery, and Fine Ale. And that is indeed what it delivered. I really enjoyed this. It could have maybe used a professional editor, like just with pacing issues and stuff like that. But for a self-pub book that only has 33 ratings, well, I guess 34 now, I'm the 34th, 34 ratings on Goodreads, this was very good. And I highly recommend it. And if you like the idea of cozy mysteries, but haven't been able to find very many that are set in contemporary times that are like interesting and affecting, I would maybe try this, because the added element of the women in this book being from 1353, just after the Black Death has ravaged their town and country, which they live in Alsace, which I don't know very much about European history apparently, but Alsace is a disputed territory traditionally between Germany and France, and that's where they live. But they were their own country. I think it's in France now. They were their own country at the time, and a lot of the names are German. They're called Frau in this. Anyway, it was a good time because I liked the way that it explored, the author clearly knows a lot about medieval history, so she was able to make the medieval history come to life and make it feel like really lived in, but also it just tickled my funny bone because the stuff that these people cared about is so far away from what I care about and how I live my life. Like, it is a central plot in this book that one of the main characters, Greta, has lost her hoe, like H-O-E, hoe, and she's upset because without her hoe, it's really hard to grow food to feed her 12 children. So, and she won't shut up about her hoe. Luckily, she finds it by the end, in case you were worried. This was a good time. I mean, they simultaneously decide to become alewives and also solve a series of murders in their town. And it was a good time, and I liked the characters, and apparently there's going to be a second book. At least that's what it says at the end. I don't know. It's only got 34 ratings on Goodreads. But maybe the people who buy it just don't write reviews. I don't know. But I'm going to stick it out here. This is a good time. You guys will have a good time if you read it. And then the last book I want to talk about, I am not at all sure that I can do this book justice and talk about, I swear to God, they don't do this when I'm not filming. I've been hearing about Tanana Review a lot over the past year. Well, actually, maybe not a lot. Maybe just a lot on the few channels, booktube channels that I watched where people like her, because this book has less than 7,000 ratings and it was published in 2003. And that's The Good House. This book is as good, if not better, than a lot of Stephen King books. And I say Stephen King because she's clearly a fan of Stephen King, because she drops him throughout the book a couple of times. And her style reminds me a lot of Stephen King's style, meaning, well, at least the long books, the long horror books, because they similarly take a long page count. Like, this book is almost 600 pages to really immerse you in a story, and it's very character focused. The satisfaction comes from the slow burn of it. Like, you just get really into the meaty, nitty-gritty details of these characters' lives and the mythology of what's going on. And it's not just wham bam, jump scare, that kind of stuff. It's an investment. But then if it's your thing, by the end you're so invested that it's totally worth it for it to have been a 600-page book. Basically, I don't remember how much I talked about the premise, but the idea behind the book is that the main character, Angela Toussaint, her grandmother, Marie, owned this house since the 1920s, when her employer left it to her in his will, controversially. And nobody in the town liked her at first because she was the only black person. And she took up then with the only Indian, which the town called him Red John, so that's super racist. But they were basically married. They weren't legally married, but they were basically married. The town didn't like either of them because they were very suspicious, and she'd taken over this giant plot of land, 50 acres, with a beautiful giant house from this really wealthy guy, which she helped make him wealthy. But that's for later on in the book. So they don't like her, but the book opens with her saving the life of this child, this girl that lives in the town, because they'd heard that she has healing powers because she practices voodoo, and the plot goes from there. And then we take it up again in 2001 when her granddaughter, Angela, has inherited the house, and her son, Corey, is killed at a 4th of July party, and it's strongly implied that it was a suicide. And then the mystery goes from there. So it's got lots of stuff in there about family dynamics, about being a young black man in America, about a history of racism and stuff like that in the country. It's got this really, really cool black female witchy element to it. And it was just really good. I don't want to talk very much about it because I barely knew anything going in. I just knew there was a house and it was about a haunting. That's not really, I mean, it is haunted, but it's not. So you just have to read to find out. But it's so good. And I did the paperback. The hard copy is really hard to get a hold of. It's expensive. Like a paperback at Barnes & Noble is $28. And I think on Amazon it's like $26. I don't think there's a lot of copies available in the wild. You could always do the audio like I did, and the audio was very good. It was narrated by Robin Miles. It's on Scribd, but Audible and Libro and all that stuff also has it. So, are you done causing trouble? Why are you wet? Why are you wet? Why is he wet? What has he been doing? What have you been doing? I'm not doing justice to this book, which I gave 5 stars. It was very good, and I'm going to be thinking about it for like months. I feel like it's sitting, like it's like squatting in my brain almost exactly the same way that I feel that, ew, dude, that's drool. It's squatting in my brain the same way Liar, Dreamer, Thief is, like it's taking up space. Oh, yeah, you pushed your neck into my finger, dummy. Why do you think you're choking? So anyway, 5 stars. Cinco. I feel like I haven't really communicated my thoughts properly, but this is the best we're gonna get. Bye. Hello, good night. It's 10:41. I'm up way past my bedtime because I watched Nimona. Why did I turn that on right before my bedtime? But I just wanted to let you know I'm not sleepy right now, so I'm gonna read until I get sleepy. And Pippin is zooming everywhere. But I'm starting A House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher. Oh my god! He just used my leg as a launch pad. And I haven't figured out how to trim his back claws yet. I know he lets me do his front claws once a week. That's fine. But the back claws are a problem. I'm starting this. It is pretty short. It's like 200 something pages. It's her newest horror release, but she writes like cozy horror, so right up my vibe. I don't actually know too much about this. I just bought it based off the cover and T. Kingfisher. That's a thing that I do now. All I know is that it's sort of a haunted house story. There's a grandma and a girl and a vulture. That's what I got. So I'm gonna read this, and I'll probably check in tomorrow morning after I shower and stuff. Okay, bye. Okay, so I'm very tired right now, and I've been through trauma. So I'm not gonna talk much about my book, which is really good, by the way. The House of Good Bones is really good. I'm really enjoying it. It's very creepy, but also like weirdly cozy. But overall, I'm really enjoying it, and I'll talk about it more once I finished it. But what I mainly wanted to do right now is update about this situation. That was my morning, was this situation that's happening right here. And that I was giving myself a DIY haircut, and I sliced into my finger, and there's a big honking flap of skin hanging off and blood everywhere, and I drove to urgent care and they stitched me up, but it's a whole thing. And I'm very tired, and I've already taken 2 naps, and I called out for work tomorrow morning. I'm gonna go in the afternoon, but I can't type like this, and I know that because I've tried to type, and I type at work, so I'm allowed to remove this dressing 24 hours from when they put it on, which is like 10:30, so I'll go to work after lunch or something. I don't know, whatever. I'm so tired. I don't know. It was just a cut in my pinky, and I'm so tired. I can only imagine if I'd like broken an arm or something. I'm too old for this. Whatever. That's really all I wanted to say. Is that this is how my Sunday is going, is that I needed 4 stitches in my fingy. So I hope your Sunday is going much better than my Sunday. Okay, first of all, I just wanted to show you this because he is trying to make this cuddling thing happen so hard, and she's like, I suppose I will tolerate this. Yeah, anyway, they were closer like 10 minutes ago, but anyway, I just wanted to show you. Oh, that's so cute. He just wants to cuddle. Okay, hi. So I've just been sitting here reading my book, House with Good Bones. I don't know why I'm in such an awkward spot. It's because I don't want to mess the kitties up. So I just finished this. I had a really good time with this book. This is only my second T. Kingfisher horror book after last year when I read the mushroom retelling. I can't remember the name right now. That book's getting a sequel, by the way, next year. It's going to be a series of novellas, which I'm happy about. Obviously, at least I don't think these sequel's not going to be a retelling of anything that Edgar Allan Poe wrote, like the first one, but maybe. I don't think so, though. But anyway, this was a really good time. I really like T. Kingfisher's narrative voice. It's so fun. So basically, this book is about an archaeoentomologist, which is a real job that sounds awesome and extremely nerdy. I would be terrible at it, but I liked reading about it, where she studies archaeological digs and the evidence of bugs left behind at archaeological digs, and like what that tells us about past bugs and past societies, which is cool. But her dig is canceled. I forget why. Some reason that it's postponed for 3 months or something like that. And so she can't go, but she's already taken a 6-month leave from her job and sublet her apartment, so she can't go back home to Tucson. And so she moves home with her mother. And I'm trying to remember what state. Oh, North Carolina. So she drives to North Carolina cross country to stay with her mom in the house that they inherited from her dead grandmother, who died 20 years before, who was a piece of work. Like, it gradually unfolds across the novel, like, how shitty she was as a person. And that was entertaining all on its own. But basically she shows up and things are a little off. Her brother had warned her. Her name is Samantha, by the way, Samantha Mills. Her brother had warned her that something was off with their mom, but he wasn't quite sure what, and he asked her to look out and see what was going on. And sure enough, like right away, she notices some very strange changes that her mother has made to her behavior. Like, she doesn't swear, and she started saying grace right before dinner, even though she doesn't like to pray. They never prayed in their life except for when grandma was alive. And she's painted all the walls a crew, which is a shade of white, and when normally they were colorful and non-matching and bright colors. And she's taken pictures off the wall, and there's this horribly racist Confederate wedding painting that her grandmother loved, and which they took down as soon as they could, but is now back up. So anyway, weird stuff like that. And so it's just so the first half was just this sort of like cozy slide into weirdness. And then the second half got real weird. It got real weird. And I liked it, but also I'm not sure quite about one development, but it's fine. And also, you can see there's a vulture on here. There's a woman in the neighborhood who is a wildlife rehabilitator. And she has this crazy cool garden, but she rehabilitates. She's mostly retired, but she still has vultures. And she has a vulture in her house named Hermes. He's a house vulture who only has one wing, and he's adorable. Which there's a lot in here about why vultures are good. And there's a lot in here about different types of bugs and different types of birds and different types of plants. So that's really cool, like the focus on nature in here. But anyway, the first time she shows up at the house, there's a vulture sitting on her mailbox. And then later in the book, you find out that the wildlife rehabilitator says, yes, they always have at least one to keep watch. What are they watching for? Anyway, I had a really good time with this. I feel like I'm leaning towards 4.5 stars, rounded down for now. But I love T. Kingfisher. I said last year sometime that this year was going to be the year of T. Kingfisher, and I just haven't made that happen. It's more turned into the year of Grady Hendrix and the year of Alana Andrews. But I've bought a bunch of her books, so I own them. I just haven't read them, which is stupid because they're so short. All of her books are short, basically, which is nice. Anyway, I highly recommend this if you are kind of a scaredy cat and you want something a little on the cozier end. I can't wait to try out her. I've only read her horror, so I can't wait to try out her fantasy. I heard it's really good. And she writes a couple, I guess, fantasy romances too. There's one called Sword Heart that I'm really interested in. That's my update. I'm probably going to go start another book, but I need to figure out what I'm going to do for dinner because I don't know. I feel sorry for myself. And I'm trying to decide if I want to use the excuse of my poor finger to order DoorDash. I'm going to see if I can convince myself that's a good idea or not. It's probably not a good idea. But I ate my leftovers for lunch, so I have to actually make something if I want food in my finger. Okay, update on two things. I did DoorDash. I did. And nobody's allowed to judge me because I had 4 stitches today. And also, I want pizza. And my pizza needs are a little bit elaborate because I can't have gluten and I can't have dairy. And I'm not really supposed to have nightshades, which is tomato is a nightshade. So all in all, it's a no-no, except for sometimes when I can find a place that has a good gluten-free crust, which Sauce does, and their crust used to be nasty. It used to be like weird flowers, but now it's a cauliflower crust. And then the second thing is they have vegan cheese, and a lot of times you find a place that has one but not the other. Like they'll have vegan cheese, but they don't have a gluten-free crust, or they'll have a gluten-free crust, but they won't have vegan cheese. So I either have to be real bloaty for the next couple weeks, the next couple of days, or not eat pizza. But Sauce has both. They also have this really yummy chicken sausage, but I'm just realizing right now that I accidentally ordered pepperoni instead of sausage. Oh well. But anyway, so I got a vegan cheese, gluten-free cauliflower crust pizza from Sauce. Second thing, I'm starting Chain Gang All-Stars. So this is a book club pick for one of my, yes, I'm in multiple real-life book clubs. And I am very excited that my friend Brianne picked this because I really wanted to read it, and I got it from Aardvark, which I'm really glad I got it from Aardvark because, okay, I'm going to rant right now. And I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. I hate when these stupid celebrity book clubs get their sticky little mitts all over these books. And they don't just, it's not good enough to just put a sticker on the cover that you could remove. No, they got to get their little proprietary hands all over it and get like it on the cover so you can't remove it. And frickin' Read with Jenna, I think it's Read with Jenna. Let me look real quick. We're going to check. Yeah. Read with Jenna. Put her she's got a stupid thing ruining the cover. It's ruining it. And also, I got really, really mad. I get so mad about book covers. I got really mad when my copy of Ink Blood Sister Scribe arrived by Emma Torres. And like the beautiful cover, which I will put, let me just move my stupid head, which I'll put here. This is the non-adulterated version. And then this is what showed up. I was so mad. I was so mad. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, I haven't started it yet. I haven't really read the blurb either. What I know about this is it takes place in a near future. I don't think it's a far future. I think it's a near future where the penal system has evolved so that you can get, I don't know if it's perks or maybe a reduced sentence or something. You can get something if prisoners participate in gladiator fights. So that's what this book is about. I'm assuming it's a commentary on the penal system and racism and all that stuff. And actually, this premise, one of the reasons I was so excited to read it is because it reminds me a lot of Bitch Planet. So if you guys haven't heard about Bitch Planet, it only ran for a handful of issues. There's only 2 trade paperbacks of it, but I highly recommend checking them out. This comic is funny, it's sad, it'll make you angry, it's ridiculous. I was just really sad that it stopped after 2 volumes, but it reminds me of, that premise reminds me of this. So I'm hoping that the vibes will be similar. I don't know how far I'm going to get in this tonight because I'm going to get distracted. I just know it by my pizza and by X-Files because I've been reading all day. So, but I'm gonna at least try and get a couple chapters in. Good morning. Well, it is technically still morning. It's 11:30. I took the morning off of work because I couldn't remove my dressing on my fingy. Sorry, I don't know why I keep saying fingy. I couldn't remove my dressing until 24 hours, and that means I couldn't shower. I was just like, whatever. I'm emotionally traumatized. I'm taking the morning off, and my boss was like, fine. But anyway, I made some progress in Chain Gang All-Stars, and I don't really know how to talk about... Oh, hi, Pippin. Hi. Can you say hi to everyone? Say hi. He's not going to talk. I don't know how to talk about this book. I'm going to think about it, but I did want to mention that real quick. Sometimes I look at chapter titles when there's chapter titles in the table of contents, and I know that's sometimes spoilers, but sometimes I spoil myself because emotional preparedness is good for your mental health. I don't know what he's sniffing at. What are you doing? He's making snuffling noises. You guys can't hear it. But I just saw that there's a chapter towards the end of the book that's called Suck My Dick, America. And that has me excited. Although this book is very sad and very brutal. Like, it is not... I compared it last night before starting it to Bitch Planet. Bitch Planet is more overtly humorous and satirical with moments of brutal sadness. Because that one, I don't think there's matches to the death in that one. And this one there are. And the main character, well, one of the main characters, I'm not sure if there's actually a main character in this, she just killed a 16-year-old boy in the arena. And it's very hard-hitting about capitalism, and for-profit prison systems are definitely on the chopping block here, and the carceral system in general, and race and class. I don't know, it's really intense so far. It does have a black sort of humor, and I'm very intrigued as to what the chapter Suck My Dick, America is about. So I don't know if I'll update you on that though, because it might be spoilers, but if it's not, we'll talk more about it later. Bye. Okay, that was wild. So it's July 17th. I live in Tucson, Arizona, for those of you who don't know. And it's a thing in the summer. We get monsoon here, monsoon season, and it's like a game here waiting to see when it's going to come. Like, when will monsoon be here? It's supposed to start in late June, like mid to late June. And we have not had a single drop of rain. It is now almost a month later, and it keeps threatening to rain. It's been like humid, like an armpit for like 2-3 weeks now. And we're like, is it gonna today? Well, anyway, it's today. It happened. It was like, I've never seen such an insane storm in my life that was here. Like, that was like tornado level, tropical storm level storm, which I was in a tropical storm when I lived in Florida. And it reminded me of that. There were 60-mile-an-hour winds just now. And when I was driving, I'll put in some video of my workplace. And now there's water. There's water coming in. I immediately went on to What's Up Tucson, the Twitter feed for local stuff that's happening. And down trees, down power lines, so many outages. One of my customers called me almost immediately after the storm started and was like, my roof was ripped off. So, okay, cool. So my work's going to be fun for the next couple weeks. I can just tell already. But anyway, it was like a Palo Verde tree massacre. I've never seen so many down trees in my entire life. It's really sad, actually, because some of them are quite old. There were I stopped taking pictures of them at a certain point because that's just in my complex where I work. And there were all up and down the street when I was driving home. Giant trees just fell, blocking traffic. All the trees at the grocery store that I sometimes go to down. So that's crazy. Climate change. But the reason I'm actually filming this clip is not to tell you about this crazy ass storm. Oh, by the way, it was 111 degrees today. And that noise you heard earlier, that's hail. Do you see the hail? So it went from being 111 degrees to, I think it's like 75 right now. And there was hail. What the fuck is happening? The reason that I turned this camera on is because I got book mail. So I got some pre-order. Well, one's a pre-order and then one is not. But I really wanted it. Okay, so let's do the pre-order first. Okay, so this is a romance, Forget Me Not by Julie Soto, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe this is another Raylo published fan fiction in the vein of Ali Hazelwood's The Love Hypothesis. And also The Dead Romantics was Raylo fan fiction. For those of you who don't know, I don't know how you don't if you're on the internet, but it's Rey and Kylo Ren from Star Wars. So, yeah, this is about a wedding. That's all I know. I mean, honestly, at this point, my book buying is just instinctual. I don't know what I do, what I'm doing half the time. But it seems to work out well for me. So I'm not going to question it too much. But yeah, Forget Me Not. I don't have any idea what I'm going to get to this. By the way, speaking of published Raylo fanfiction, I have recently found out that a really hyped fantasy release that is coming out, I think September, maybe October this year, Hurricane Wars, I think that's what it's called. I'll put it here. That is also a pulled to publish Raylo fanfiction. And apparently it's like the king of the Raylo fanfictions. And I immediately was like, I need the original fanfiction. Like, screw this other book. Not screw it. I'm going to read it. But I need the original fanfiction, and it's gone. So I spent about 30 minutes one day frantically searching the internet, and finally on Reddit, somebody had put an EPUB version of the fanfiction, which I can't remember the name. I'll put it here. If you want the link, just let me know. But I really want to read it because it's 1,200. It's a 1,200 pages. It's really long. Basically, she's reworked it, the author, into a fantasy trilogy. So that's happening. Anyway, I got distracted. Second book. I don't even ship Raylo, by the way, but I enjoy Raylo fanfiction. Like, I don't think that they should have been together in the movies. Like, he was so messed up. He was so messed up. I have really strong thoughts about that last movie, by the way. I don't think that J.J. Abrams did what he was supposed to. Like, what's his face? Ryan Johnson just teed it up for him, and he whiffed it. Some parts I really liked, but some parts I hated. So, okay. This is not in super great condition, but this is pretty hard to come by, and that is Bunny by Mona Awad. So this is all over if you can get the paperback. I didn't want the paperback. I wanted the hardcover with the black. It's dirty, but I can clean that off, and there's a sticker, and I can hair dry that. I think this would be okay. I don't think it'll melt. I don't know. I'm scared now. So I'm finally going to read Bunny. I have no idea when, but it's happening. So anyway, that's my book mail. I gotta go field some texts from my boss because he decided to go to the gym literally 10 minutes before the storm started, and there's water in our office now, and I'm sure he's gonna have to deal with that. And I just left. I was like, I'm leaving. I'm going home. Bye. And I just saw that he just texted me while I'm filming this clip, so I'm gonna go deal with that. And I don't know, I might check in before bed, depending on how things are going with Chain Gang All-Stars. I'm very distracted right now, so who knows how far I'll get. Okay, so hi. It's a good thing I'm mood reading. Also, I didn't want to be on camera. I was feeling really poopy, so I just didn't want to. So I didn't. So it's been several days. I don't remember how many. Luckily, I'm mood reading because Chain Gang All-Stars is not like a zoom read. I cannot zoom through it. It's not... What's he in there crying about? Got a new rug. Maybe he's crying about the rug. Maybe he's excited. Who cares? It has tassels. He can chew them up to his heart's content. I don't care. It was a $20 rug. Hi, baby. Want to say hi? Hi. So anyway, I'm still reading Chain Gang All-Stars, and I'm liking it, but I'm not like... It's a tough read. It's not like a fun read. So I wanted something that I could more like lose myself in and not think about the terrible things in the world. And so I started The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. So this actually was a book that I picked up. I put it on my TBR last year because of this gorgeous cover. Look at this. I put it on my TBR because of the gorgeous cover. And then when Read Harder announced all of their challenges in December or whenever they normally do it, one of them was to read a book solely based on the cover. And I was like, well, shit. Because normally I know a little bit. Like there's covers pull me in, but I've said no to several beautiful books that I just wasn't interested in. But so I was like, okay, well, is there anything in my TBR in like the 1800, 1900 books that I've got on Goodreads marked as to read that I do not remember what it's about, but it has a beautiful cover. I don't know if I ever really knew what it was about, but I definitely had forgotten if I knew. So I literally just saw this cover and was like, yes, that one. And then I bought it and now I'm finally getting around to it. It was an excellent, excellent decision that I made. Past Ashley, great job. Simon Jimenez is a genius. What he is doing with this book, I don't even know how to talk about it. So a lot of the times when authors mess with style, it ends up coming off confusing or pretentious, or like it takes away from the story rather than adds to it. And he's messing with style in this, but it is very much working. It is incredible. To use the word of one of the Goodreads commenters. Like as soon as I marked that I was reading this, people that I've never spoken to on Goodreads came flocking out of the woodworks to tell me how much they love this book. And now I get it. I'm only halfway through, and it took me like 100 or so pages to really get in the groove of how he was writing the story. But to do a very, 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 very basic job of what's going on in the plot, which is not really the reason the book is so good, is that in an unspecified time, in an unspecified world, in the quote-unquote old country, there's an empire called the Empire of the Moon, and it's ruled by tyrants. And the current emperor has 3 sons who are nicknamed the Terrors because they are triplets and they are all terrible people. And all of them are the sons of this god that the emperor keeps locked in a prison under the castle. And I'm not clear on how she got there or what's going on. And actually, I think that she might also be the emperor's father. So I think that this nasty family just kept this god prisoner and they keep generationally doing things. And I don't know yet. Sometimes she calls people her child, this god. And I don't know if she's speaking metaphorically or literally. Sometimes I think it's both, sometimes neither. I don't know. But anyway, so the whole plot starts when the god kills the emperor, and 2 young men are responsible for getting her out of the castle and across the country through a lot of peril. And it's a 5-day journal. The book is split into 5 days and before, so you can get like an inkling of what's going on. I think it's going to be a love story. I don't want to say any more than that. I've already told you too much. Because I literally knew nothing going into this, everything has been a delightful discovery. The actual style, though, this is what I don't know how to talk about. And this isn't spoilers, so I am going to talk about it. So it's told in this, like, I don't want to say lyrical, because it's not. It's told in very readable prose. But the premise is that there's this character who we only know as you, because at first I thought the whole book was going to be in second person, but only some parts of it are. And that's because somebody is telling this person a story, and he lives in a time much later than the one that we're hearing about the main story. And they're basically at war, and it's giving me World War II vibes for some reason, but it's not our world, so it's not World War II. But anyway, he has 9 brothers, and he has a grandmother, and his grandmother was always closest to his grandmother out of all of them, and she used to tell him stories. So one day, the book opens with her saying, one day there's a story that you will hear. There's an underground, no, it's called the Inverted Theater. And it's a place you visit in your dreams. And one day you will get an invitation and you will go there for one night only and you will hear a story. And it's a very important story. And I don't remember exactly what she tells him. So then that's the story we're hearing, because one night he, like in his dreams, he comes to this theater that's in a dream world basically. And the moon goddess, not the moon goddess, I don't remember who she is. She's the daughter of the moon, which is the god that fell to earth and is captured under the castle, and the water. She's the daughter of the moon and the water. She's on stage where all of these ghostly spirits, I think they're all dreaming people, maybe some of them are dead people, I don't know. And they start telling the story of how the empire of the moon ended and how things became, you know, the way that they are or something. I'm not sure. I'm not done with the story yet. But then it like weaves like almost seamlessly in between nameless narrator and his Lola, and then after she dies, him and his brothers and his dad, to him in the inverted theater, like talking about the way that the people on the stage are portraying this story, to us actually hearing the story. But even while we're hearing the story, like in world, in third person, it's like this omniscient point of view where like the narrator, like the POV will slip into the heads of random people in the story and give us their thoughts in that moment. So the whole combination of that, and then this other thing, I'm still not sure what exactly it is that's going on here, but it's part of why it's working so well. You see these little paragraph breaks with the lines? They're almost like if you play music, how a note will be marked. Oh my God, it's been so long since I've talked about this. I don't even remember the words. Shit, I've lost all of my knowledge. It's basically an emphasized note. It's kind of like that. Like the sentence is pulled out of each paragraph and it sits on its own in the middle, and it starts and ends an idea sometimes, and it connects the two together. And it is just perfectly seamless. It's like the book equivalent of a beautiful tapestry. I don't know how to explain it, but once you get in the rhythm of it, it's so good, and it's able to do things that like a traditionally written book can't, because it's got like extra tools of emotional manipulation available. So I don't know. I really like, you guys, it's so good. Like even if you don't normally like fantasy, just for the style alone, like the way it immerses you, like if you can't get into it, you're going to hate the book, first of all. But if you can get into it, you're going to fucking love the book. I've seen basically on Goodreads it's split between people who lost their minds over it, which is going to be me. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be 5 stars unless something goes terribly, horribly wrong, which I do not think that it will. And people who were bored, DNF'd, couldn't get through it, said it was a slog. I don't understand those people, but the style just is really specific and full of the author's voice. So that's going to bounce off some people no matter what. So anyway, I think that this is going to be one of my favorite books of the year. It is on track to be, I mean, I'm loving it 50% in. I can already tell you guys what's going to happen right now is that I'm going to sit down to finish this book, and it's going to keep me up because I'm not as fast of a reader as I used to be. And this book, I do have to keep putting it down. It's not like it is a fast read, but it's also not a fast read because like I keep having to process things emotionally. But it's going to keep me up tonight. I just know it. And then I'm going to be so tired at work tomorrow. But I'm actually going to end the vlog right here because it is the 20th. And unless something goes terribly wrong, please just assume this is 5 stars. And then I will be back for the last third of this vlog to close it, to try and cram as many more books as I can into the month of July. Oh, I did also, by the way, I'm not going to talk in depth about them. I have been listening to audiobooks, and I've been listening to an art copy of Gone Tonight by Sarah Pekkanen, gave it 3 stars. Really nothing special. Don't check it out unless you love thrillers. If you love thrillers, you're going to like it. And then I also listened to the 6 stories in Amazon's Far Reaches collection, which is 6 short stories by famous sci-fi and fantasy authors that were set to incite the imagination and open the heart. I don't know. I liked all of them but one. Well, 2-ish, because I knew Nnedi Okorafor's story was just gonna bounce right off me because her stuff has always bounced right off me. I almost didn't even read it, but I'm a completionist and it was only an hour-long audiobook, which I got through faster because I upped the speed. Anyway, but all these are worth checking out, especially James S.A. Corey's, which is called How It Unfolds, which was a really kind of mind-bending sci-fi story that I've never seen space travel done this way before, and it was really cool. And then the ending I was like, whoa. So I've been reading that, and then I did also start, but I'll talk more about this, another audiobook this afternoon, but I'll talk about it in my next vlog because I do want to talk about it. That is it for my July mood reading part 2, and I will see you guys in part 3. Bye.